Good morning. I'd like to call the work session for March 11th, 2020, 5 to order. If you can please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the state flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among United cultures. Thank you. Moving on to approval of the work session agenda.
So move.
I'll second. Do we have any, I have a motion by Commissioner Medina, second by myself. Do we have any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Do we have anyone for public input? Okay, moving on to next item on the agenda, be county reports. It's director's reports, but hold on here. Okay, County Fire Chief, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, staff, ladies and gentlemen. Just real quick, so yesterday I got back from a trip to California and we had a 6 to 8 acre fire out Lower Members. So our fire activity has been gradually increasing, and we're looking at red flag warnings again this week. I have been working on our financial reports for the state fire marshal's review. That was still continuing a little bit. We've wound it down quite a bit. Also had to do some inspections at stations last month with our fire marshal's office in the Nemours Valley to see their status of where they're at. Lower members had been on probation, which they are no longer on probation, and we should be having an ISO inspection out there sometime soon to hopefully improve their rating. And the ISO is the insurance services organization. That's who sets the standard or level for each fire department, and we get an ISO rating, 1 being great and 10 being not so good. And most of our departments are 5s. We do have a couple of 4s. I think there's 1 or 2 4s, and most of them are now 5s. So we're doing pretty well with that. Also been working on getting equipment ordered for our new aircraft rescue firefighting apparatus that will be going out to the airport. And I believe what I read this morning in the latest email that we're looking at that delivery probably sometime around the middle of June. Our para reports are also due this month, and was working with a lot of the chiefs and the VFDs to get their records together, and we have them all for you, which I think is on for Thursday's agenda. Incident command teams, we're still working on that, but we've already implemented a lot of that. Yesterday's fire, I had there were 4 chiefs involved and 3 departments. So we implemented some incident command and had some people doing specific jobs, running certain parts of the fire, staging where we have our tenders and other available resources. We had a highly experienced person, one of the chiefs on the ground, who was leading some ground crew and cutting line, if you will. And that went very well. So we had that fire wrapped up fairly quickly. It was on the top of a mountain, and it burned up around the top of that mountain, but the cause is under investigation. It's coming back to possibly something from their solar that they had on top of the mountain. Still attending trainings and meetings with our VFDs. All of our departments are wrapping up their wildland refresher classes, and we are ready for what looks like it's going to be a pretty busy season. Last meeting, Commissioner Shelley asked about our recruitment and retention. So for January and February, we had a total of, 8 new members. Fort Bayard had 1. Lower members had 3. Tyrone had 3. Upper members was 0. Sapio 0. And Cliff Gila 0. So I didn't get our totals for the months of January, February on our call volumes. They've gone to a new CAD system at Central, and the way they're generating the reports are a little bit different than what we used to get. But I will have that for you at one of the upcoming meetings here soon. And I can report on that. So I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Chief, I have I guess a quick question, and I've been meaning to ask this for 7 years, but I always forget. PARA, Public Employees Retirement Association. Like Grant County employees, city employees, any state employees, they contribute into PERA, right?
Correct.
They work, and most, comes out of their paychecks. Being that and I'm glad to get it, don't take me wrong. Being that they're volunteers, is the state the one that's calculating it on the number of hours, or how is that working?
Based on the annual reports that PARA receives from each county municipality, it's based on their participation of the volunteers. So they have to do 50% of trainings, calls, meetings, business meetings are also, and so each department is keeping tabs on the attendance of their volunteers, and then that's reported to us in March, and that's how it's submitted. PARA puts up the funds. There's no matching fund that is provided as it would be for like a county employee or city employee. So after 10 years of service and age 55, you could be eligible right now today for $125 a month. At 25 years of service and 55 years of age, you could be eligible for $225 a month from the PARA retirement. The volunteers are when they meet those requirements and those age requirements and years of service, they can stay on the department if they're drawing the PARA, and if the state should increase it at some other time, if they've remained active, they may be eligible for increases, but that's where it stands today.
Thank you. No,
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that. Commissioner Shelley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Chief Rogers. I have or Groves. I have just a couple of questions to understand the PARA reports.
Yes, sir.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm looking at Tyrone's as an example right now, and it shows new volunteer fire department members reported in 2024 as 15. So, and then returning is 26. Does that, so the 15 is like is that the number that were recruited in 2024?
Yes, that should be new members that joined in '24. That's a combination. There are some junior members that get reported. Just real quick, a junior member at age 16 can qualify for service credits through para. Granted, they're not going to see it for a long, long time, but the hope is to encourage them to stay and remain a volunteer or move on to paid service. But yes, that 15 represents, there were more than that. A few have dropped off. There was a big surge in our membership at Tyrone from Station 2 out in the White Signal area. But yes, that 15 represents the folks that joined in 2024.
And so the 15 are people who joined and stayed on for at least a year, or?
Well, that particular form is used just to get them logged into the system. So it's a new recruit, they're being entered on para, they've started, they're not going to qualify for a service credit till they do have a full year. And then, every subsequent year after that, if they meet their training requirements and criteria, they'll qualify for a service credit. But para requires new recruits to be entered. It's a little different now than it was when I was the chief at Tyrone. The reporting system with para has changed quite a bit in the last year or two, I believe.
Okay. And then the only other question I had was line 4, excluded VFD members that were reported as 2. What does that mean?
Excluded, I'm sorry, sir.
Line 4 is excluded VFD members reported in 2024.
So I think what that's referencing, so now there's a new form that I had not seen ever before, but if a member joins one of the VFDs, they can choose not to participate in para, and I believe that's what that is referencing.
Okay. Okay.
And I think they did have 2 that opted not to be part of the para reporting.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Commissioner Stevens?
Yes, thank you, Chief Groves. I just remember seeing an email about a regional fire planning meeting tomorrow, March 12th. And I just wondered what the county's role is in that, if you're familiar with that. It looked like it was all of southern New Mexico, all these different entities. Do you know what
I don't recall seeing
all right.
about it.
I just wondered if the county had a role in that.
So it is, the Forest Service puts it on. It's an interagency meeting with BLM, ENMRD, and the forest, and we usually participate in those.
I see. Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next report, the detention center, Mr. Andasola.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. We currently have 1 officer opening at the facility. We have 4 officers in training, and we also conducted interviews last Tuesday, March 4th, 2025, so we'll be looking at candidates for that to fill that officer opening, and then we'll be fully staffed. Accreditation update, currently working on emergency plans and evacuation routes. We're also working on signages. We're going to have to post them in the different areas of the facility for the escape routes. We did hire a new kitchen supervisor for our kitchen services, and we're working on locking up our utensils and our utilities and having that shadow board. We've worked with maintenance also on that. On February 28th, 25, our population was 83 detainees with an average daily population for February of 92. As you could see, our population is slowly declining as we were in the 90s for the last several months. We haven't had any COVID positives among staff or detainees for the past several months. Our RISE program in February had 28 RISE participants with 10 in the facility and 18 in the community. Our RISE funding is ending July 30th. We did get word last Friday that we're going to resubmit for additional funding for the next 2 years for an RFI. So that RFI is due April 25th, so we're going to look at that this week and start the procedure. The RFI is a much simplified version of last time, so it's going to be pretty much easy, and this is the 4th time we put in for that grant, so I'm confident we'll get that grant again. Projects, we're looking at partnering with JCC, partnership with our RISE. What JCC is Juvenile Community Corrections, and that's working with the kids that are on formal juvenile probation. Previously, we worked with some of the JCC partnerships with the Learning Lab here in Silver City with the students that have been expelled or suspended from the schools. They attend that Learning Lab. So we had our RISE participants go and present to them. Not so much a Scared Straight program, but just stating the experience they've been through, a day in the life, how it affects their families, their children. And it really helped with those kids. After our presentation, the kids asked for help from the counselors and they sought mental health treatment because the detainees stated that part of their recovery is seeking mental health and medical services and working on the recovery. We're going to implement a Succeed Learning Collaborative with our RISE program. And what Succeed is, it's substance use and chronic condition engagement in education. What it is an evidence-based curriculum consisting of 13 sections. We're going to use that in our later stages of our RISE program with our portable building we got. And what this Succeed program is from the SAMHSA and also the State Opioid Response Technical Assistance Program. We're having a training for our RISE staff and some of our detention staff in April. We're going to start implementing this probably in early May. We also have our greenhouse completed. However, with the kind of horrible weather we've had, that greenhouse kind of took a pounding with the wind, so we're looking at getting that fixed and getting some of that warranty. And they said it could withstand winds of up to 50 miles per hour, but those winds that last several weeks kind of did a couple of damages on some of those greenhouse things, so we're looking at getting that replaced. Also, we're working with maintenance on that approved shower project. We're probably about 45 days out from that project. We're working on getting background checks on all the personnel that are going to be on site at the facility, make sure they clear our background checks. And also, we're working with maintenance and getting that start date and seeing what sections of the facility we're going to start at. When we do that project, we are going to have to move detainees out of the facility. While they redo the showers, they're going to redo actually from the bathroom all the way back to the shower, from the floor all the way to the ceiling. This company that we found is pretty much an expert in doing prison facility and jail facilities, and they said they can guarantee their work for up to 10 to 15 years, so that's something we really look forward to because it's much needed at that facility. We've done it twice before ourselves and locally, but this company with that extended guarantee is going to really help the facility move forward and continue operations at the facility. The key event dates, like I was talking about, the JCC visit to the detention center was scheduled for March 14th. However, looking at the weather conditions at the end of the week, we decided to cancel that. It looks like there might be some snow coming, and we're going to have kids traveling from Luna and Hidalgo County. So we thought it'd be safer just to reschedule and wait for better weather. Also, we're going to have a presentation with WNM students March 18th, which is next week. Originally, we were going to present to the criminal justice students, but I guess they're going to do a Zoom meeting and present to all students in the university, talking about detention, corrections, talking about our Grant County Detention Center facility, and kind of just explaining how it works, and also can use it as a recruitment tool also, so we're going to be presenting that to UNM. Also, I have an update on that key event date for the Commission Detention Center inspection. We do have a solid date, and that'll be Thursday, the 27th, after the regular meeting. Also updating that 5-year plan and putting our accreditation update in there also and emailing that to you this week so you can review and be prepared for any questions for that detention center inspection end of the month. I'm open for questions.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioners? Mr. Andasola, when you get a chance, if you can do what you did for me a few years ago, give me the amount it costs for us to house an inmate, and then also what the state's reimbursing us. I have a feeling I'm gonna need it soon,
Yes, Chairman, I'll get that to you.
like we did last time, and I don't know what our latest or last reimbursement was.
Yes, matter of fact, I don't know what I was looking for the other day, but I happened to check that last time, so I'll just update the information. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Chairman, Commissioners, you have a good day.
Next report is gonna be from our emergency manager, Mr. Scott.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners. I'll try to be brief this morning. Going through our current projects, hadn't heard anything back from the state yet on the hazard mitigation plan, so sometimes good, no news is good news. So it's moving along, I guess, at their level. For the Community Wildfire Protection Plan grant, I'll be meeting with Yvonne later on today to finalize the RFP for that, to get that out this month. So I'll be meeting her later on to get that done. The RFP is essentially done. We just need to get the timelines and some dates set up on that. So we'll be getting that out probably, hopefully, in the next week or so. And I'll be working with her on, I guess, her and Andrea on the other two grants we have for the generators and the Shishkat grant we got last year. The one grant that we're going through is the public outreach from New Mexico counties. I guess I set up a stand up front with the literature and the guides and stuff. I'll be getting those out throughout the county in the Silver City Hall. I'll be putting them out in some of the, I've talked to the post office, I'll be putting them out in the remote post offices out in Membres and Cliff, so they have that literature out there for them too. There'll also be some PSAs, public service announcements on the radio, and social media posts on the radio through June. So it'll be pretty active. And on top of that, if you notice, I've been putting out the red flag warnings. I've been putting those out on the social media. Every day we have one. So I'll put one out for today, and I'll probably put one out for Thursday. We should have another red flag day on Thursday. In regards to Mr. Shelley, for the Forestry Service, the meeting they're having on Wednesday, I'll be participating in that. And I've also got the Forestry Service and the group together with New Mexico Power, and they're supposed to have like a 15 or 20-minute part in this on the PSPS. That seems to be a big concern with folks in the state. So they're supposed to have a presentation as part of that too, to try to educate some people and take some of the fear out of it. I mean, last week there was a lot of fear because they were supposed to implement one up in Bernardo County and Santa Fe County, but they ended up not doing it. So, and for some of the future projects, again, I'm applying for the same grant that's paying for the education from the New Mexico counties. I'm applying again this year. That's going to be in by the 4th. I've already sent it up to the BLM folks, and they've already read through and approved it and sent it back to me. So I'll be sending it up. It has to be in New Mexico counties by the 4th of April. And I'm also got one more grant I'm working on. That's to pay for our OnSolve, for our platform we used to do iPods with. And I'll be applying for that, so we'll be good. That'll be paid through 2030. And that's all I have, I guess, for the emergency management piece of it. And I've been sending out like Chairman Ponce wanted a report every month on code enforcement, what we're doing with that. And the county manager asked me to add a piece to it now, so gosh, I went too far, but there's on the second part of it now, each court date I'll be detailing what happened in all the hearings, so y'all get an idea of what goes on when we go to these hearings. The Magistrate Reynolds did the last two. I think I gave one pretty detailed with Mr. Verlaine Jones, what happened with him. So, and there was another individual in Coleman Drive. So each month they have a hearing. I will be detailing what went on there and what was finalized in that. So y'all get an idea. Sometimes they keep granting them more extensions and more extensions and more extensions, and nothing ever seems to get done. But at least y'all will know that we're getting our part done and it's being held up by the courts. I think I'm open for any questions.
I appreciate you guys putting in the hearing results. I just read that, so, gives us an idea of
Yes.
where we're getting stuck here, so thank you, appreciate that. Questions, Commissioners? Commissioner Shelley?
I have one question. You mentioned an acronym that
Okay.
PSPS?
Yeah.
That there's been concern about. Could you?
Public safety power shutoff.
Oh, okay.
And I can give you plenty of information on that, and I know a little more than most folks know. They let me be privy to some of this stuff, but I had to sign an NDA to read it. And I had that discussion with the manager. We thought that was kind of odd that I have to sign a non-disclosure agreement to actually read some of their stuff, so it kind of makes me a little suspect.
Is this with the utility company for?
Yes, P&M.
Okay.
And that seems to be a big issue across the state now, is the PSPS now. It seems to have people alarmed.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the report, Mr. Fuller. I appreciate even the second part of it with the summary of the cases in magistrate court. That's very helpful. I guess my only question would be is, it shows there's total active cases of 80. What is considered an active case? Because it's showing new cases are 10, cases resolved are 35. I'm assuming cases resolved 35 is they've already been adjudicated in court, or the owner has already taken care of the issue. And it's showing there's 2 new scheduled court dates. So there's
one in March and 2 in April.
Yeah, so there's there's a lot of active cases. What's an active case?
This is what code enforcement reported to me, and I can break it down further next time.
I guess-
break it all out to you, so you have a very detailed.
I'm because a lot of these cases, I mean, they're active. That many cases active, that's going to be hard to track for one person.
Yes.
And going back to the law enforcement part of it, when there's an active case, whether the department sets a guideline for every 2 weeks, every month, they will file a supplemental to that original report indicating why the case is still active. That way, anybody that wants an update, the victim or a court, they can say, well, this is why I can't get hold of this suspect or this victim. You know what I'm talking about. I guess there's a lot of active cases, and I think if we can maybe clean up those or give us an explanation why they're active, is somebody else holding it up? But I do appreciate the extra information. It's very helpful. That way I can report back to folks that are calling me and saying, hey, nothing's getting done. But I appreciate your time in doing this.
And I was kind of upset that they heard Mr. Jones, Mr. Verlaine's case without giving any notification to us that they were actually going to have him in court. And we never get a chance to present any evidence.
Right.
Support our cause.
And obviously that's beyond your control. But
So, sorry, Commissioner Flores, so basically, they're having court, but they're not subpoenaing the
Yes, sir.
complainant.
Yes, sir.
Can we, sorry
no,
again,
but
did you want to say something?
no, but-
Okay, maybe we need to just notify the court or have our attorney, Ben, send them a letter, letting them know that we are the complainant in the case, we have evidence. If they can please subpoena, I mean, I've never heard of having a court case and not subpoenaing the law enforcement officer that's taking the action, but hey, nothing surprises me nowadays.
Well, I think he made the choice to go plead guilty, and then I guess that maybe the decision was made they did not need any supporting evidence that he was going to plead guilty. I can only assume.
Though that makes sense if they're pleading guilty, but maybe a little different if they are having a court case or a
Yes.
hearing, then they should subpoena you.
Ideally, I'd like to see this active cases probably under 10. I mean, that's something it's very manageable.
I'll get with Lily and we'll have it more detailed next time so you know exactly what's going on.
And I understand we're understaffed and we need more help, but any help is appreciated. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anything else, Commissioners? Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to IT, Information Technology, Mr. Adam.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Nice to see you again. My report is relatively small today. Some of the current projects we have going on are some of the things I've referenced a few times in the past. We're continuing on with wrapping up our server virtualization project. We only have a few servers left. These servers that we have left are the more complicated servers to migrate from a physical server into a virtual environment. They're database servers, so it involves a little more coordination, a little more timing, primarily because a database server is something that multiple groups access at the same time. So we want to do this with the least amount of interruption. In particular, like for our assessor's office, clerk's office, as well as the treasurer's office, and then over at the detention center, the primary database that's used for our jail tracking system. We don't want to interrupt the typical business operations, so we're coordinating these to try to lessen the impact when we migrate from a physical server over to a virtual. When we do that process, it takes a bit. It's copying a bunch of data from one server over to another, and during that time, it's not a good idea to have people writing to a database because information is going to show up on one server and not the other. So that's what we're coordinating at the moment. And of course, in between this, we've had other things that have come up that have caused us to put this on hold for a touch. But we're currently back on it. And I believe we only have 2 servers left to migrate. And when we do that, we'll be done with older physical servers that we can just rid of. So we'll be on a new server platform, which will be a major relief for us. When we're done with that, we'll then turn our attention over to installing a redundant firewall over at our detention center. This is basically allowing us to have multiple pieces of equipment that do the same thing. In case one of them dies, the other one can just pick up where the other one left off. Firewall, of course, is for overall network protection, but it also provides content filtering when somebody hits a website, for example. So there's several things that it does, but it's a good idea to have these in stage to have multiple devices doing the same thing. Aside from this, we're continuing on with our financial rebuild. Andrea and Betty have been working a lot on that. We had some calls last week regarding getting some additional support from our provider, Tyler Technologies, to jump in and lend a hand, as well as in an effort to ensure that this continues to move forward. So that seemed pretty positive last Friday, the calls that we had on that. So it seems like it'll be moving forward. We're positive that things are looking a little bit better. I'm also working with HR on an updated applicant tracking system. Of course, right now, when applicants hit our website, they have the ability to apply for a position. But this solution that we're still putting some finishing touches on will make that process much more modern and a little cleaner for people to apply. They will have the ability to create a profile and have their resume uploaded and apply for positions through that, rather than printing documents and filling them out physically and turning them in, or scanning them and emailing them to us. So this will make it a little more simplistic, a little more modern for people to do so. Once we have the green light between myself and HR, we'll be adding this to our website under the employment section. So it'll direct people to this website, and that's where they can apply. Aside from that, we also worked on finishing up getting network to that portable building over at the detention center, the building intended for the RISE program. We were able to install further the network over there in 2 fashions, not only just the business network for typical things like wireless access points and email and things along those lines and printing, but also extending the network for our security camera system there as well. So both of those are now in place. It's ready to go and it's fully functional. Aside from that, some future projects still have on our sites implementing some form of a backup power management system, and that we'll get to regarding all of the uninterruptible power supplies that we have. We have the ability to get all of those on the network, which could then allow us to have a little more vision into how those manage our power regarding our server infrastructure and our network switches. For example, the power outage that we experienced the other day, that could afford us a brief window to log into this power management system and gracefully shut down our servers versus all of them just powering off. That's not good for equipment. There's the potential that it won't power back up the same way. So this will allow us a little bit of a window to try to get everything shut down gracefully. And aside from that, that's essentially all I have for the moment. Stand for any questions.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes, I was just curious, thank you for the report about the public safety power shutoff and your work with IT, like how they intersect. If there was a power outage, I guess it would be important to have that backup power management system in place, right?
Right.
So do you kind of coordinate and communicate about, about if the power were to be shut off for fire prevention?
Actually, I have not been on conversations along those lines, but I could definitely see how it would be beneficial, if anything, to give us a bit of a notification to allow us to be at the ready to bring our equipment down. Yeah,
That'd be
good
great.
point, though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next report, planning and capital projects, Mr. Joseph.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, thank you for the opportunity to present our department updates. For projects under construction, there are no significant milestones to report on, but everything is progressing well. Under design, the major milestone we accomplished this last month is that we hit 100% schematic design on that public safety building. For the courthouse remodel, that one is ongoing as well. And we've been working with the 6th Judicial Court regularly to get their feedback to ensure that the design aligns with their programming needs. Regarding future projects, we're awaiting financial documents from New Mexico Finance Authority to move forward with our 2024 Colonius Awards. So if all goes well, we should have these documents before you for our next regular meeting. For key dates, in the planning department, we worked with, of course, Jason, our public works director, and our road department to submit our local government road fund projects, and that was on March 5th. He'll expand on those, I'm sure, during his presentation. On March 6th, we submitted our Colonius application for Phase 3 of the Arenas Valley Road Improvement Project. And then coming up, our Transportation Project Fund, the TPF applications are due on March 28th, which are for larger infrastructure projects, and we'll be working again with Public Works on that one to ensure those applications are submitted by them, by March 28th. And then items we're requesting support on, just as a little bit of a recap, on a regular basis, we need to certify our annual, or our county mileage on an annual basis. So we need to submit those to NMDOT by April 1st. So there's a resolution before you to look that over. This mileage remains unchanged. The 2024 to 2025 mileage is exactly the same. And then, as mentioned earlier, we completed the schematic design for the public safety building. We're seeking approval to move forward with construction drawings, and so that's another resolution before you that you'll be able to vote on Thursday. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Moving on to Public Works, Mr. Jason.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. So I have the County Facilities Maintenance Report in front of you. So under our current projects, we are working on the Administration General Break Room area phase. It's the seating area back here where we've done all the remodels with the cabinetry. So we're going to repurpose some countertops, have some nice seating back there for that unused space that's in the back. We're also completing this front rail system here in the front. But continues the detention center, and also the conference center flooring installation is going very well. I have some pictures to show you here in a moment. Under future projects, conference center, we are starting the waterless urinal replacement over there. So we are actually putting in some urinals that flush with water. It's just a lot more sanitary that way and a lot less preventative maintenance that you have to do for those. administration building, employee designated outdoor space. We're gonna be, probably doing like a pergola type area in the background, so in the back of the building where people can go out and enjoy their breaks and things like that. Detention center training the training mock cell door installation. So, that'll help Andazola and his staff out with their training when they're doing, certain things like that. Also the detention center shower coating, as he reported, it's like 45 days out. It's gonna be a great product for us that we're very happy to see initiated. Administration, the building, here in the front where the railing's going up, we're gonna have that concrete resurfaced. It's gonna be an anti-slip feature up there. It's kind of coming apart. It's been like that for years, so found a company that's gonna come in and gave us a really nice price. Also, we're still gonna be doing the laundry remodel and replacement. That stuff's on order, just waiting for that to kick off and where we can get it in between all the other projects that are happening there. Under notable accomplishments, the administration building bathroom remodel fixture replacement's been completed in this building. The maintenance guys have done a spectacular job. If you go into those bathrooms and you see the auto flushers, things that they've done, the new of China, all that, it's really appreciated. We painted the entire treasurer's office. Courthouse holding cell is about 95% complete for what we're doing. And also the treasurer office and the solid waste ADA storefront installation is complete up there. I just also want to thank Jay and the maintenance team for all their hard work, from Baton to our bathroom remodels. It's greatly appreciated. If you guys haven't been out to Baton Park lately, you should look at that place. They've been weed eating out there. Macario and Victor, that place is looking really nice. So it's in pretty much tip-top shape right now. So if you guys get a chance, go out there and view it. We also sent training opportunity, sent one of our employees, David, to a locksmith school this week. It's gonna help us become more efficient with our maintenance department and our locks, and coming up with key access programs for all of our buildings. So that'll help us out. Stand for any questions for the maintenance department. One picture of the conference center flooring, how it's coming out.
Jason, I know that, I'm thinking it was a couple of years back, the prior commission had approved, I believe it was a $70,000 budget for you to start working on some of our projects in-house instead of farming them out. Has that been working out? Because the reason I bring it up, it seems like we're saving a lot of money with the projects that are being done in-house. And I'm just, being that we're going into a new budget year, is that enough for you? Are we okay with somewhere in there? Or, because, I mean, to me, is we put a little more, but we're saving on the other end. So I don't know if that's working for you. I think it's working great for the county, but I'm talking about the dollar amount. Is that working for you?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So that dollar amount actually works out very well for us from what we've seen in the last couple of years. It's kind of like a fine balance there, because if you get too much money in there, you can't spend it up, and then we're too project heavy. We don't have enough time to complete that with all of our maintenance duties. So that dollar amount that we've been putting in there this last couple of years has actually been really good. And we really appreciate that, because if you see all these things that we've been able to do in-house, it's really helping out and giving really good facelifts to our buildings that we're doing. So
If it works for you, it works for me. Thank you.
very good.
Any questions, commissioners?
There's a solid waste picture that we lowered that window down for ADA accessibility. Redid all the countertops in there. All right, on to fleet maintenance. So we did 14 oil changes and inspections there, 14 diagnose and repairs. 4 blades had their cutting edges replaced, and then one of those blades had a brass inserts adjusted on it. 8 units either had their tires replaced or repaired, had 2 windshields replaced. 1 unit went in for a recall, and we also installed some catalytic converters on FD2. Just want to say thanks to Toby, as he's been promoted to the fleet manager. He's been doing a great job down there, and Robert for keeping our fleet going. We're still actively recruiting for 2 mechanics, but those guys are keeping the place going for right now, and I really appreciate all their hard work. So I stand for any questions for fleet maintenance. Moving on to the road department. So under current and finished projects, so equipment operators have consistently maintained around 160 to 200 miles of road each month, and adding aggregate to various locations throughout the county. Truck drivers have delivered an estimated 200 tons of materials to different road sites. Laborers have patched numerous roads, trimmed the trees, maintained some culverts, and performed other related tasks. Hereford Drive, we put 70 tons of material there to address some drainage issues. Material was removed from the Ortiz Road to prevent further erosion and was relocated to Royal John Lloyd Road to fill in bar ditches. We did some preventative measures were taken by cutting some water trenches and bringing in some material to North Swan Road to address some erosion issues. And then multiple locations are being prepped for our upcoming cap projects. We are also continuing to get our laborers training to obtain their Class A CDLs. We're taking advantage of a scholarship program right now. It usually costs around $6,000 for CDL training, but the scholarship program pays $4,500 and the county gets to pay $1,500. So we're taking advantage of that to get these guys trained. So for future projects, we're preparing to haul 500 tons of material to Royal John Mine Road. That's started. Also preparing for our CAP and SP projects over the next few months, going to get those knocked out. Some key event dates on that Royal John Mine Road. We're just going to try to do about a mile's worth of maintaining up there of a 4-inch cap on those roads. So I know there's some constituents out there that have had some problems, and we've had some really bad rains out there. So that's what we're going to be doing there. I also want to thank Tommy and Sean and the entire road crew for their hard work and keeping our roads safe and maintained. I do have a couple slides for you to view. It's Hereford Road where we had to take in some material. At the end of this cul-de-sac, the water used to drain and hit P&M's transformer and hit their driveway, and so we kind of transformed it where it slopes a different way and hits an actual little water diversion dam and goes down a drainage ditch. Ortiz Road moved out a lot of that material, and that's what we moved to Royal John. North Swan Street, we filled in this ditch that you see right here from the erosion issues that was going towards some mailboxes and things like that. There's a tree removal we had to get out of Duck Creek. I stand for any questions.
Commissioner Stevens.
I was just curious what's your preference if people, like constituents, do have concerns or complaints? I think right now they call the county manager's office, right? Or how do you want them to voice their concerns?
Correct, so they should be calling the road department number, and that is transferred to Angelina's phone,
Okay,
and she
okay.
delegates that out to all of us as we need, just depending on whatever the issue is, then it kind of gets delegated out there to where it goes to me or the road supervisors.
So if someone asks me, I should direct them to the road department?
That is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Have a great day.
Okay. County manager, it's all yours.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, in front of you have the agenda for Thursday, March 13th. Your first item of business is a proclamation declaring extreme or severe drought conditions in Grant County and imposing fireworks restrictions. So the proclamation is included in your packets, and you will see that NMSA's Article 60 to C 8.1 allows the commissioners to determine if conditions warrant fireworks restrictions. And I also included in your packet the information from the Forest Service. They implemented stage 1 restrictions on Monday. And then also you can see from the drought index that our entire county is currently under extreme drought. So those conditions warrant you considering this proclamation. The statute is the mechanism that directs the proclamation. So it allows you to issue this proclamation every 30 days unless conditions change significantly, then you can choose not to approve the proclamation imposing these restrictions. So as you scan through there, you can see that each section is referencing a section of the statute that gives you the authority to do so. This was brought up at the last meeting around concerns of our dry, windy weather. You just heard from Roger that our fire volume is picking up. And so this is something we have successfully done in previous years. It's been a while since we've done it this way, but this aligns with state statute, and this would be our recommendation for your consideration to impose those restrictions on fireworks. Also on Thursday, you will have your regular monthly report from Robert Whitaker with GRMC. On the consent agenda, you have regular meeting minutes of February 27th and also the safety net care pool for the Q3 payment. Questions on either of those items? Okay. Moving on to new business, consideration and approval of the 2024 volunteer firefighters annual reporting for para. Roger did a good job of explaining this to you. These are just the reports, and para just requires us to put those in front of you for approval. And this year we did receive them from all departments, so all departments will be in compliance with the reporting. Next, item D, consideration to dissolve the TUCASA Advisory Board. Chairman, this was your item. I'll let you discuss it.
You know, yes, we had spoken a little bit about this one a few meetings back, so why I asked to be put on the advisory board for TUCASA. I sincerely think that TUCASA advisory board has probably already done what it was supposed to do at the beginning. I think that, you know, we need to go ahead and just go ahead and dissolve the board and you know, me personally, just talking here, and I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but we'll find out here eventually, is I think also that this is a first step in looking at other things with TUCASA and maybe making some changes there and heading back to at least to what it was intended for at the beginning and getting it back going for our public, and I think this would be the first step. I think after more discussion comes about as to what direction the commission wants to head with TUCASA, I think after that point, we could probably revisit, if we want to, an advisory board or another board to look at that for us. But right now, I think that we really owe it to our community to get these services back to the basics and get it fully functional and running. And you know, we'll I know Thursday we'll be discussing a little bit about it, so let's see where we go from that. That's the reason for putting this on the agenda, to do that. Some people have reached out to me and understand where I'm coming from and pretty much feel the same way. So that's what this is about, and then we'll discuss a little bit more on Thursday. So. Commissioner Shell.
If we decide to dissolve the advisory board, then do we lose any valuable recommendations or conversation about where to take these issues that a lot of our constituents and probably all of us are concerned about?
I don't really see that happening. Our advisory board was put together by this commission, and I think that you guys saw the charter as far as what we're doing with it. I think that the information would be coming to us. Part of the problem that we're having is we have an advisory, and we have HMS running TUCASA for us. At the end of the day, is that advisory board be listened to with ideas and anything that they have? Maybe not, because it's not part of HMS. That's my thing, is they may just be hearing things, passing things on, but is anything really occurring or happening, or is their advice really being taken into consideration? this is why I sort of want to go into this direction and then possibly head it into a different direction with Tucasa. I don't know if that answered your question, but, and the other part that I look at is, you know, we have 5 commissioners, we all have constituents. I think a lot of that information can come to us, and that information down the road can be given to the county manager, and she can work on that for implementing new ideas or letting people know what's going on. Because right now, I think we just need to go back to the basics and go where it was intended, what it was originally intended for. Commissioner Stevens?
I wonder if it would be possible, if the commission at a later date does have input or questions, if we could talk directly to HMS's board instead of, if we don't have the advisory council. I'm just thinking about, like Commissioner Shelley said, how to keep the dialogue going. You know, if we, as long as HMS is running Tucasa, I want to just make sure we have a way to communicate with them. What do you think the best way would be for that?
You know, I think a lot of that's gonna come down to the further discussions we have and the direction the commission wants to go is I can't say as a whole, but as a majority, to, when we get to that point, sit and discuss, you know, what we can do to have that done. I think that right now, we're in the beginning stages, but I think in sort of like I mentioned earlier, is down the road, if we see that, you know, sort of like the Board of Trustees for the hospital, maybe we can go in a direction that way so constituents and our commissioners can be heard. But I think for right now, we just need to discuss it and decide what's the best option for us and for our community. Good? I don't know if I answered all your questions, but we'll talk about it a little bit more down the road.
Moving on to resolutions, item E, consideration of resolution R 2517, public building animal prohibition. It's unfortunate that I even have to bring this to you, but I've had a handful of verbal complaints and also received a written letter out of concern of dogs in the courthouse. And these dogs are not, they're not qualified service animals. So what this resolution does is it falls in line with what statute allows, as well as Title II and III of the American Disabilities Act, which makes it clear that service animals are allowed in public facilities. What is not allowed in public facilities are emotional support animals, comfort animals, therapy animals. They have to be a qualified service animal. What this resolution does is prohibits all of those things, allows qualified service animals, any dogs utilized by law enforcement, as well as it includes animals presented in animal exhibits, so that way it covers livestock exhibits for the fair. That is a county facility, so that would not eliminate that. I think out of concern of dogs running loose in our buildings that we're responsible for, I think we need to implement something. So it's down for any questions or comments. Moving on to item F, consideration of resolution R 2518, county maintained roads mileage certification. Joseph?
County Manager, Mr. Chair. In front of you is a resolution to certify our county maintained road mileage. This is needed on an annual basis by NMDOT. In there you'll find a listing of each of our individual roads, the length of those roads, and the overall certified mileage of that, along with the letter that we need to return to DOT by April 1st. Stand for any questions.
I think you mentioned earlier that no change, so we're still at 685 roughly. Moving on to item G, consideration of resolution R2519, authorizing expenditure of funds for architectural services under an existing on-call contract with NCA Architects for the public safety building.
Mr. Chair. Again, in front of you is another resolution, and this is to move forward, authorizing us to go forward with construction drawings for the public safety building. As reported, we finished the schematic design, which is a very high-level overview of the building along with an estimate. And so based on that, we want to go ahead and move forward so we can actually permit that work and move forward with improvements. And I'll stand for any questions.
Moving on to item H, consideration of resolution R2520. This is a budget adjustment request resolution, Andrea.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Before you is another bar. The first part of it you'll see is the final true-ups of the fire departments. This should be the last one of these that we're coming across. We have a new award from the District Attorney's Office for the warrant funds. That is in the amount of $32,682. We received also another grant from New Mexico DOT for the NDWI and for the STEP grant. That's in the amount of $4,998, and the STEP grant is for $3,982. There's New Mexico County's wildfire of $20,000 that Scott has briefed you about. This is to bring in the money, budgeting it in when we receive it. And then you will see also all the colonias that Joseph has been speaking about. So this is budgeting in our 80% from the NMFA loan and our 10% match portion of it. And then for each of the three loans, for Little Walnut, Ridge Road, and Arenas Valley. And then the transfer of the match funding is from LATCF, so you'll see that on there as well. And I'll stand for any questions.
Commissioner Medina?
In your bar, it talks about operating expense for some of the fire services. Those are significant numbers. What does that cover?
I'll answer that since I worked with them on that.
Sure.
So what this was, we're allocating portions of their carryover funding and the rest of their state fire funding.
Okay.
And there are significant amounts in the operating expense. We were allocating those funds, and then if they need those for other items, then we can do the internal bar
Perfect.
to move them where they need to go.
I
But
just
it
hadn't
was just to true up their budgets.
I just hadn't seen that, and I was just kind of,
Yeah.
it like popped up, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So just, thank you.
So that's the reason for
Appreciate
the
it.
large figures.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Commissioners, anything else? Any questions on what we just reviewed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner reports. Commissioner Medina, do you have a report?
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Flores?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I have a couple things. Mr. Chair, Charlene, I know our meeting got scheduled, recently canceled, our meeting got postponed for Gila Regional Medical Center. How, are we able to schedule it maybe the week of the 25th? It's a couple weeks from now. Anytime that week or anytime thereafter?
We will work with the conference center to see if there's a room available. We are redoing the flooring. If not, we can schedule it in this room. That's okay.
Okay, I'd like to shoot for March 25th, that's okay. Same time. And I do appreciate Amy putting out the flyer, really nice flyer. People were really looking forward to it, and people reached out to me and said, hopefully we can get it rescheduled pretty quick. Thank you. And the other issue I would ask if we could maybe look into would be the traffic signal, the missing traffic signal on the median on US 180 and the intersection of 90. It's for the northbound, westbound traffic, whatever you want to call it. It's right across from the fast food Chinese place that was taken out in an accident. I definitely thought it would be replaced sooner than it hasn't been replaced. But I know a lot of people, they look at that because it's easier to look at from a traffic perspective other than the light to the left of them as they're approaching. I definitely think it is a traffic hazard. There's been a couple of close calls that I've witnessed. Are we able to reach out to, I probably think it's a state issue.
It is a state issue, it's DOT, and it's also within the jurisdiction of the town of Silver City, so I'm gonna refer this to Alex.
Yes,
For him.
yeah.
I'm gonna take a stab and just a wild hunch, there is some funding coming through DOT to look at, that intersection in general. Perhaps they don't wanna sink the money in for that signal, I don't know, but I will reach out to Alex and ask what's going on.
Thank you. I just thought maybe we could do it on behalf of a county commissioner rather than on behalf of a citizen who I know people have reached out to the state and to the city, and nothing has happened, so they reached out to me, but any help would be
I'll
appreciated.
start with Alex, if he doesn't know, then I'll reach out to Aaron.
Thank you.
Also, if I may, at the DOT meeting, they were speaking about the lights that they've been trying to order, that they're having a hard time getting them from the suppliers, so that may also be a part of the delay.
Thank you, Andrea. I'll explain that to the people that reached out to me. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Shelley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one item, I continue to have folks in the White Signal area raising concerns with, about the wind farm company wanting to, in their minds, utilize the CPAR road to, and get their approval of private property right-of-ways. And I have asked those folks to try to get me specific names because we talked about it and it seemed like, no, the county is confident that the plan is to come from the south in the open areas. And yet they seem, in fact, I heard there's a meeting being set up for this week, later this week, to talk to property owners along the CPAR road access about this right of way. And so anyway, it's not a dead issue. I don't know if it would be appropriate for us to try to attend that meeting or so that we have an understanding of, not all of us, but perhaps, I don't know, a county employee or myself, try to go out there and get specifics of what they're being asked for and how it coordinates with agreements we've done in the past.
Before you answer, let me throw a shot because there might be some questions on my part that you maybe answer also. My understanding to this whole thing was that this was basically a plan B, that it wasn't gonna use, and I'm assuming, and I do say assuming, that they're doing this and going that route just in case they have to go plan B. But the original plan is coming off of I-10. And I think that what's happening, and county manager can answer this and correct all this, I think what's starting to happen is they're starting to take steps to look at their plan B, but they're gonna follow the original plan A from I-10, correct? Or am I lost?
No, you're not lost. So it is the intent, so let me just back up to when the commission, when we did this. So we approved a road use agreement with Scout Clean Energy to utilize county roads from 90 all the way to 10. So they do have the authorization to use CPAR from one end to the other. For the sake of the cost of the project and the efficiency of construction of the project, Scout Clean Energy does not want to come off of 90. The hurdles that they have had to overcome are DOT, the railroad, Kinder Morgan, I forget the other, I believe there was a fourth one. Their last hurdle that they're trying to overcome is an agreement with Kinder Morgan, the gas company and the gas line that runs through there. They do not want to come off of 90. That is Plan B. Chairman is correct on that. That they don't want to do that. The road use agreement gives them the authority to do that. Where some of the initial confusion began is they asked some of the landowners for an aerial easement. All they wanted was air on their private property because you can imagine these blades are extremely long. They need to be able to swing around. They asked for an aerial easement. They were going to pay them for the air to move the tips around. So that created a whole bunch of confusion. Then the other attorney, which Scout Clean Energy was not aware of, I was not aware of, sent these letters to individuals asking for additional easements. I have made a couple calls to that attorney, and they are not returning my calls. I simply wanted to know, who are you representing, so that we can get to the bottom of what they're doing. And they won't return my call. So I do think it would be helpful for me and Joseph, or me or Joseph, if depending on schedules, and the commissioner in that district to attend, to find out what in the world and who is asking these things. But Scout Clean Energy does have the authority to use our roads as they see fit. Now, the private landowner, they can choose to not grant that easement. They can do that. They have that right. But in the last, 6 months, there's been a tremendous amount of confusion. So I will, it's on my list to reach out to Bob Karstead. He is the representative from Scout Clean Energy that I deal with, and always comes and presents to the commission. I will ask him for a written statement of exactly where they are, what the update is. Other than that, I don't know how to answer their concerns.
Okay, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Shelley, with regards to this, Charlene, Commissioner Billings had reached out to me and let me know about all the same concerns you have. They invited me to a meeting tomorrow at 1:30 at the community hall there at Whitewater. I plan on attending. Billy Billings has given me all the information, everything that you pretty much said, Charlene, except the aerial easement. I think maybe there's a miscommunication about the aerial and the actual land easement. But I plan on being there tomorrow at 1:30.
Great, thank you.
I can't be there tomorrow at 1:30, so it's in your district, maybe you could attend.
It's in
Or is it in your district? Is it in your district? Okay. But yes, if you could gather some of the details, that would be helpful.
Thank you all. Thanks for that explanation. That was more than I had heard before, and that's very helpful. Thank you both. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Stevens.
That was on my list of things to ask about too, so thanks for the clarification. And I also wanted to thank you, Charlene, for sending out those ordinances. I've mentioned before that the animal control ordinance, we've had a couple constituents bring up the fee structure, that it wasn't strict enough for violations. And we also have had people say that they wanted peafowl to be added to the list of domestic animals. And I think that it's important that we be responsive to those concerns, and I wanted to look at those and consider strengthening that ordinance. And then also the other ones related to like abandoned vehicles and mobile homes and around fire risk. And I've had constituents express a lot of concern about that too. And so I just think, for me as a new commissioner, it's important to be familiar with those ordinances and then also see if there's anything we can do to strengthen them. You know, they're kind of old and maybe we could make them more effective. So I look forward to us getting together to look at those.
Were the rest of you able to access those? I sent them in a Google Drive.
I wasn't.
Yes.
You couldn't open the Google Drive? Okay. I'll send them to you individually. Were you able to open them? No. I'll send them individually. Our email wouldn't allow me to send them in one email.
Anything else, commissioners, that you wanna? No. I just have a couple of things, and I'm glad that picture's still on there, and I don't know what to do about it. On Highway 35, there, by Bear Canyon, it's really beautiful in the summer and also in the fall with the trees. It seems like you're driving through a cave. But noticing that I've seen a lot of these trees leaning over the highway a little bit. I don't know if the state highway department, I don't know if these trees are in an easement, but there's some trees that probably can create a hazard if they break off and cause an accident. I believe maybe there has been one. I'm not too positive on that. I don't know if it's on private property. I don't know what the state does. Who can we look at least to have the state do at least an assessment of what's drying out and may fall, or what's good to salvage, because it is a beautiful place when you drive through it, but it's something like that, and it's a hazard. It hits another car. It's not good. So I don't know. I don't know if it's in an easement, if it's on private property, but I do know that state Highway 35 is a state, so I don't know who you reach out to, or if you want to reach out or I reach out, doesn't matter.
I will confirm with Aaron about the traffic signal and whether that's the supply chain is creating the delay on the traffic signal, and I will ask him to please look into those trees.
And then my other question, and it just reminded me coming into this meeting, the lights on Highway 180. Do you know when that may be starting?
I don't know. I'll ask him.
You don't know? Okay, sounds good. Other than that, unless commissioners, do you have anything else? County manager, do you have anything else? No? All right. Meeting's adjourned.